Now we start our formal proceedings, and 9 formal papers will be presented. I request Professor Li Huailiang, Dean of the Institute for a Community with Shared Future, Communication, University of China, to kindly present his talk. The title of his the topic of his is Community of Shared Future is All Inclusive.
Khalid Tamer Akram, he had his own thought about the new concept of a community with a shared future. And he did a lot of research and published many articles to explain the concept. And I will express my expression, my grateful to the cooperation between the Pakistan Research Center and the University of Punjab, Lahore. Today, our topic is the community with a shared future. Firstly, I will answer 2 questions. First one, what is a community with a shared future? And secondly, what is not of the concept? Firstly, now we are in Pakistan. Pakistan has a population, the population is 0.24. And I'm from China. China's population is 1.4 billion. And US, the population in US is 3.34 people. The population is 0.34. We are not doing mathematics here. What is the total population on the earth? 8 billion. 8 billion people on the earth. A community with a shared future is take the 8 billion people for whole. We have the same future. We have the same challenge, especially at this time. This is the first question. The center of the concept of communication community with a shared future, the core is the people. The 8 billion people is at the core of the concept of community with a shared future. This is the first one. And the second one, what is not a community? What is not the concept of community with a shared future? The community with a shared future, the concept, is not to export Chinese political and social system and Chinese ideology. Totally, absolutely. We are not to use the concept of community with a shared future to export our Chinese characteristic socialism. No. A community with a shared future is not communism. It's not communism. The concept of a community with a shared future, its base is the concept of common values of humanity? What is common values of humanity? Justice, equality, peace, development, freedom, and democracy. Those 6 concepts are the common base, are the pillar to the concept of a community with a shared future. This is my answer to the 2 questions most people concerned. Now I start my speech with my PPT. The title of my PPT, my topic is D-Time and a community with a shared future. What is D-Time? The world now entering an era of D-Time. We always hearing deglobalization, decouple, deterrent, de-risk, and all the D, the result is dividing, and the final result will be depression of the global depression. Deglobalization, decouple, de-risk will result the world dividing, and finally result global depression. Why we face a D-Time? Let's go back to the 40 years ago, 4 decades ago. China started open up and reform policy. And the world, the US-led world order integrated China into the world order. But there was a presumption. What presumption? The Americans presumed China, after its development, when it become wealthier, Chinese will become American. But finally, 4 decades later, it turns out that Chinese are still Chinese, not become American. So the American unhappy with that. So Mr. President Trump posed heavy tariffs on Chinese goods and Chinese service. And the administration of President Biden continued President Trump's policy and go further. And you know the chip wars. You know the chip war and the Chip Act and the Quad and the AUKUS and the U.S. and its allies now determined to contain, to decouple with China. So we face very, very difficult. Now, just now, Vice Chancellor Khalid Mahmoud asked me what's the words in your song. I told him the most popular words are China station now is facing a most difficult time. So not only China. The decouple demands every nation to choose side. Every nation to choose side. That's unhappy. That's not a good thing. So the General Secretary of the UN Mr. Guterres said, "I fear our world is creeping towards two different sets of economic, trade, financial, and technological rules, two divergent approaches in the development of artificial intelligence and ultimately the risk of two different military and geopolitical strategies. This is a recipe for trouble. It will be far less predictable than the Cold War." And he said 1 year later, "At one stage, international relations seemed to be moving toward a G2 world. Now we risk ending up with G nothing, no cooperation, no dialogue, no collaborative problem solving." He said, I think is reasonable. You know, the globalization having been the most influential movement for the decades. The globalization interwoven the value chain, the production chain, and the consumer chain. Every country come together to product one production. For example, the iPhone, cell phone, iPhone. It is assembled in China, but the parts are from more than 50 countries. So the value chain, the production are interwoven. The global become a little village. In the little village, we should act by a rule that is win-win cooperation. China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001. That's a heyday of enthusiasm for free market. China adhered to the principle of mutual respect and win-win cooperation. That was preferred to the rhetoric, the discourse of Chinese narrative. But I think that is good. Now we are entering a daytime, and in the daytime will be a lose-lose model. Lose-lose model. In Chinese, kill the enemy for 1,000, you hurt yourself for 800. That's two failures, no winner. Zero-sum mindset will be result lose-lose model. For example, the aggregate cost of decoupling to the U.S. economy in the trade channel, that will be 25% tariff. If 25% tariff were expanded to the overall two-way trade, the U.S. would forego 190 billion US dollar in GDP annually. And in the investment channel, the decouple leads to the sale of half of the U.S. Foreign direct investment, and that will lose 25 billion per year in capital gain, and model pounds to one-time GDP the GDP loss will up to 500 billion. And in the industry level costs, that's more. For the limit of time, I will not read exactly the figure. And the lose-lose model will jeopardizing global sustainable development. Also, I will skip this and the next one. I'd like to talk about in the daytime we should do what we should do. We should to build a community with a shared future. Against the backdrop of unprecedented crisis, turbulent international relations, and emerging challenges, the concept of community with a shared future for mankind represents the Chinese proposal for global governance and value system considering the interests and aspirations of all the stakeholders. The concept emphasizes harmony, peace, and sympathy. And the community with a shared future has the three-level context. First, a community with a shared future is broadly conceptualized as a community based on mutual interests shared by all mankind. The community will also adhere to the concepts of equality, inclusiveness, mutual benefit, openness, and etc. The second, universal of all sorts and advocates a new concept of universal prosperity and common development by developing a value system with a high degree of inclusiveness, pluralism, and universality. And the third, a community with a shared future for mankind recognize diversity as the strength and driving force behind human civilization. It embraces differences and respects all. Finally, to conclude, the connotation of building a community with shared future for mankind emphasizes the need to establish partnerships of equal treatment, increase mutual consultation and understanding, develop security patterns based on fairness and justice, engage in co-construction and sharing, seek open and innovative ventures, design inclusive and mutually beneficial development prospects, promote harmonious exchange among civilizations, and build an ecological system that take into consideration nature and green development. That's my speech. Thank you. Thank you so much.